The fastest show in sports.
The one that I always go back to is it's the Michael Jackson issue. I mean, when I was younger, of course, Jackson was in his heyday, the Thriller album, and so many other things. Michael Jackson was brilliant. Quincy Jones was brilliant producing him and making incredible music. But at this point, I have no Michael Jackson on my iPod. I've chunked all my CDs. I've gotten rid of them because once you watch the whole documentary series about Neverland, and any of them and any of the reports coming out of that, you go, this guy was a child molester. He liked hanging around little
Yeah.
boys. You know, and I'm still going to go ahead and listen to his music. Somebody came up to me recently and said, well, you spent all the money on it. He already made the money. His estate's got all the money. What are you getting so upset about now? I said, the mere point of the fact is, when a Michael Jackson tune comes on, and I got to turn it off, because the first thing I think about was, you were in bed with little boys. You know?
Yeah, I have.
The first thing that comes
I
to
sort of,
mind.
the funny thing is I, because Michael Jackson was such a big part of my childhood, like in a weird way, I just watched him all the time when things were going bad. My parents got divorced. He was like such a constant presence in my life. I can listen to stuff before he was really an adult, like after Thriller, and when the allegations stop, I can't listen to any of that.
No, I can't.
Anything pre, I guess, but and it's another show. But how much how much does the singer have to be unattractive to you as a person for you to still like the song? I think it's a good topic down the road.
Well, it's worth talking about, and also Kevin and I talked about this last week. There's a correlation to be made here with Pete Rose. We went into great depth about Pete Rose, and every time, and you brought this up too on social media, and I also had heard about this for years, and I
Yeah.
knew the stories very well. Every time I hear the words Pete Rose, I don't think about a guy who bet on baseball. I think about the guy who crossed state lines as a married man in his 30s and was having sex with an underage female, which he claims, I didn't know she wasn't 16. I don't care, Pete. That, that's not
She
an
was actually
excuse.
fit. She was actually
She was
15.
actually
He
15.
loves to say that she was 16 because that was the age of consent.
Correct.
But that even dismisses all the stories that he brought girls as young as 12 to the Cincinnati Reds clubhouse during spring training back in the day. This is a pedophile. This is not a guy that robbed the cradle or had sex with somebody. This is a pedophile. This has anything to do with his gambling.
Well, see,
Like
that's
the
just
fact
it.
that
And I
Rob
got,
Manfred let that guy in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Hall of Fames are shams anyway. There's so many bad people in there, but
oh, we
but
could
there
do a whole
should
show
be
on
some
Hall of
things that
Fames one day and the nonsense
there
that's
should
there.
be some things that disqualify you from any kind of recognition. And stealing a kid's soul, child molestation, and especially when an adult survivor of sexual abuse comes forward and they're pretty clear about what happened and they have no financial incentive to do so. They just ruin their own life because they've outed a hero to a lot of people. Like once multiple accusations come out, just freaking believe the person. Believe him. Like, but yeah, he was not just a bad human being in the gambling sense, and he was a he was a criminal pedophile,
Well, see,
and he
that's the
didn't get
word that
caught
people are afraid to
probably
use.
because of who he was and because of when it happened.
People are afraid to use the word pedophile in relation to people like Michael Jackson and Pete Rose because they're heroes, they were stars,
Yeah.
they've had great moments. We worship them. Pete worshiped in Cincinnati and around the world of baseball for people who still want to give him a break. People who love Michael Jackson because of his music and how wonderful it is and how wonderful it made us feel. But the word is pedophile that you have to use. And even in this whole discussion, someone I know came back at me and heard that comment that we made that Kevin and I talked about with regard to Pete and came back and said, whoa, wait a minute, what are you all upset about? Look, my grandfather back in the day, they had sex with women who were girls who were 12, 13, 14, 15, and that's just what was done back then, where they had that kind of sex. So are you going to call my grandfather now a disgusting pedophile like you call Pete Rose? I got back to her and I said, yes, I am, as a matter of fact. I'm going to call him a
All
pedophile
right.
because he was
So
hanging around with kids, with little girls, and they were diddling each other, and that was his choice to make. He was a grown man. But it's like, and
yeah,
so then she came back
well,
and the whole
it's
conversation
almost it's
stopped
al-
there.
it's almost it's almost like giving people carte blanche to be racist back then. Oh, everybody was a racist back then. They said these things like, okay, didn't make it right. I'll confide in you and the people on this show. I found out my dad, my mom had me when she was 16. No, I'm sorry. My mom had me when she was 17. She married my dad when she was 16 in Germany. I found out when they met, she was a 15-year-old German barkeep. He was a 24-year-old U.S. serviceman. That's not robbing the cradle. That's pedophilia. If my dad were alive today, I'd tell him that. But
It's not just
different
pedophilia. In many
era,
countries, depending on what the
different
laws are,
era,
that's
and
rape.
people got pregnant earlier, and people got in relationships earlier. Still doesn't make it right.
No, that's exactly it. What I'm saying is, it's not just pedophilia, it's rape in many countries. Now, there are people who are going to go, well, in Germany,
Statutory
it
rape,
wasn't
yeah.
considered rape at that point. In Germany, it was all part of life, where older men got together with younger girls and they started families early, and everybody looked at it. And as a
Yeah.
matter of fact, you'll get people who will walk to you and say there are religions who, over the centuries, have set up older men with younger women because that's part of their tradition. It still doesn't make it right.
Yeah. Well, what's Louis Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan's line? Half your age plus 7. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I
great
never heard that.
when you're 80. That's great when you're 80. How about when you're 25? You know?
No, 19, yeah,
Well,
whatever. I
actually,
mean,
no. How about when you're 22?
I still think it's a ridiculous statement to make, and that just goes to show that's doing nothing more than making it okay for you to basically
Yeah.
break a simple law of nature, if you will, a simple law of society, if you will. But
Yeah.
that's a conversation that's going to go on for some time because I use the word pedophile. When I discuss it with some people, I'll use the word pedophile with Michael Jackson, and invariably somebody will come back and say, "Oh, come on. Will you come on? Michael just it just happened once or twice. It wasn't a big deal. Yeah, he slept in the bed with boys under the age of 14, but it's not a big deal."
Well,
Excuse me?
yeah.
Hit me
Yeah,
again?
there's always a parental thing too. Like, the parents let him. Like, yeah, you're right. That was unparental. There was one parent from Australia who, once he realized what had happened to his son, killed himself. But yeah, to this day, if they ask me if Michael Jackson were alive today, and whatever, he was 40, and he asked me, "Can I have your son over to the Leaving Neverland?" And I'm going, "You mean to your ranch?" Yeah, sure, but I get to come. And I get to sleep. He doesn't sleep in your bed. He sleeps in a separate room.
And you're talking about another
I mean,
issue here,
that's if
which
I
is the
don't. That's if I
parents.
don't.
You know,
That's
the
if I don't know
parents who
any
hand over their
allegations. That's if I
13,
don't know.
14, 15-year-old child and say, "Oh, yeah, that's Michael Jackson. Everything will be fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, don't worry about it. It's Pete Rose. He'll be fine. It's not a big deal. It's okay." Ridiculous. Remember
Guess
once
what?
again,
Guess what? Guess what? Pete Rose, Michael Jackson, they're dead. They're kicking up daisies. Okay, they're fucking dead. You people, don't give us grief about them. And if his family wants to come after me, I will smack Jackie across the face. Them damn enablers just living off his money. Oh no, he didn't touch anybody. I'm going to defend him because we still get money from the Michael Jackson escape. State, shut up, Victoria. Shut up, Janet. Shut up. You too, whatever, Pete Rose Jr.
I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it there because you've just said everything and you've said it perfectly for a point on it. I can't go any further than that. I agree.
That's all, folks.